Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Ian McCollum, and I'm very happy to announce today the launch of a new book from Headstamp, Tobacco of the Emperor. This is a book about Japanese military tobacco products from about 1900 through the end of World War II. This is a subject that is, well, I'll just come out and say it. It's a subject that's a lot more interesting than you might expect it to be. We read through the author, Patrick Phillips' manuscript, thought it would be a really cool book for us to print, and decided to fast track it because it is something that we have decided to add to our current ongoing Kickstarter campaign. So let's go into a few quick details about the book. First off, what is it about? Well, Japanese military tobacco products. If you think about World War II, one of the iconic images that often comes up are the Lucky Strike cigarettes that American soldiers got as part of rations and care packages. Well, the Japanese had the same sort of thing. There were actually quite a lot of different brands of cigarettes that were issued and purchased by the Japanese military. In fact, there were elements of the Japanese military specifically assigned to producing and packaging cigarettes. So the book we have here is by Patrick Phillips. He has spent several years collecting these items, researching these items. He had access to a couple other collections over the course of writing this book, and he's done a really good job of creating what is, at the same time, both a history of tobacco and its use in the Japanese army, and also a collector's reference to the different brands and styles and packaging of, when I say tobacco products, this is primarily cigarettes, but does also apply to ancillary items. So there's also subject matter in the book about things like ashtrays, pipes, which were used. There's kind of this just prejudicial assessment that, well, pipes were opium pipes, and that's all they were. No, there are plenty of Japanese soldiers and civilians smoke tobacco in pipes, but they're pipes that look rather different than the ones that we're used to in the West. So those, as well as lighters, matches, and that sort of thing. Now you may wonder what makes cigarettes interesting? Well, a couple things. First off, there's a wide variety of different brands. The packaging and the artwork on the packaging is actually really cool. It's quite varied, and it is a fantastic candidate for a really good-looking photographic masterpiece of a book, like we really like to do here at Headstamp. So when we found this manuscript, Mr. Phillips had already put together essentially the whole book and was planning to self-publish it. We took a look at it, thought the content here is really good. We can make the photography just exceptional. And so James Rupley, our photographer, went ahead and rephotographed the whole book, and we are relaying out the existing text with new photography that's just going to look fantastic. Like I said, a lot of the artwork on a lot of these items it's just really cool. In addition to that, it's not static throughout time. So the Japanese military production cigarettes in particular are things that changed. At the beginning of the war, they were a lot fancier, kind of like the various Japanese small arms. And by the end of the war, they were getting, well, you might say last ditch in production style. The packaging became far more simple. Elegance and nuance in things went away, and it was just strictly functional in a cigarette instead of a rifle. So what does the book cover? The book covers, as I said, the book covers the history of tobacco in Japan in general, kind of setting the stage for why Japanese cigarette production worked the way it did. Covers a bunch of the accessories to cigarettes, like I mentioned, lighters, ashtrays, pipes, just plain tobacco and such. There are a number of sort of specialty areas that are interesting topics relating to tobacco in the Japanese army, like the military production of tobacco, as well as things like the use of opium-spiked cigarettes. I think we'll be doing a video specifically on that in a little while, but that's a really interesting subject in its own right. And then the bulk of the book is dedicated to the different brands and packages of cigarettes in particular that were available to the Japanese army. And the majority of these are Japanese in origin, but the book does include half a dozen other countries. So there are also products from Thailand, from Indonesia, from Taiwan, from Manchuria, from mainland China, all over the Japanese sphere of military influence during the 1930s through the end of World War II. So this isn't quite as niche of a subject as you might expect, because actually quite a lot of Japanese cigarettes survive to this day with collectors. The thing is, American cigarettes were better than Japanese ones by the end of the war, and American soldiers didn't really need to be smoking Japanese cigarettes that they had managed to find, purchase, or capture. And so a lot of them came home as souvenirs and mementos because they're interesting, they're different, they look really cool. All the same sort of reasons that we thought this would be a neat book to write. So there is a substantial, actually, collector market in these cigarettes. There's enough that there is, in fact, one previously published book on the subject, although it's self-published. That is Japanese Smokes by Jerry Price. It went through 3 editions, and Patrick Phillips actually spoke with Price over the course of his writing his book, and Price agreed that it was about time for someone to write something new on the subject, and so that something new is Tobacco of the Emperor. We have 3 specific ways that you can pre-order a copy of Tobacco of the Emperor. Number 1 is if you've already pledged for the Clockwork Basilisk Kickstarter, for any pledge level in that Kickstarter, we have added Tobacco of the Emperor as an add-on item. So you can go into your pledge, edit it, and just add a copy of Tobacco of the Emperor. And by the way, doing that, you get our substantially discounted Kickstarter price instead of what the book will eventually sell for retail from our website once the printing is complete. If you're not comfortable with how to change and order a pledge in Kickstarter, I actually have a step-by-step guide in the description text that'll walk you through the whole thing. Option number 2, if you've seen Clockwork Basilisk and you're just not interested in that book, but you would like a copy of Tobacco of the Emperor, we have also added it to that Kickstarter as its own standalone pledge level. So you can go into the Kickstarter, link is in the description text, and pledge for specifically just a copy of Tobacco of the Emperor. And again, you'll get the discounted Kickstarter price. Now, the third option here is something that, well, we realized that this book about Imperial Japanese tobacco would be a really good, perfect bundle to go with our book on Imperial Japanese swords, conveniently titled Swords of the Emperor. And that's a book that we didn't run a Kickstarter for. We just pre-sold it 5 or 6 months ago. We have it actually in the printing process right now. And what we've done is also add, both as a pledge level and an add-on, a bundle of both the tobacco book and the swords book, along with a set of extras that are only available through this Kickstarter. So a pair of Velcro patches, one for each of the books, a pair of bookmarks, one styled after each book, and a pair of Ex Libris labels, one styled after each book. So if you want the whole Japanese bundle, that is also available, either as its own standalone pledge or as an add-on if you're already getting a copy of Clockwork Basilisk. Now there is one other case that I want to bring up, and that is we did pre-sell Swords of the Emperor without a Kickstarter. If you purchased a copy of that through our pre-sale and you would like to get the bundle of it along with tobacco and all of the extras, there's a link, again, in the description below. Drop us a line through our contact form on our webpage. We will be happy to cancel your Swords pre-order, and then you can simply go to the Kickstarter and pledge for a set of the whole bundle. You'll still get the discount pricing that you got when you pre-ordered Swords through our pre-order. So those are all of the different options. This is a slightly complex Kickstarter now, but we're pretty excited to have a whole bunch of cool stuff for you. I have a couple videos coming where we're going to be talking with Patrick specifically about some of the various content in the book. So if you're curious about it, definitely stay tuned for those videos. Anyway, as I've now said several times, the Kickstarter link is right down there in the description. You can check out all of the different options we have, both for Tobacco of the Emperor and for Clockwork Basilisk. Thanks for watching.